see, I think there we go. Recording started. So welcome everybody. Again, my name is Eric Waymeyer, Senior Account Manager with Express Maintenance. And during this session, what we want to focus on is preventive maintenance services, how to set them up, how to execute, and the value that they present when you are running reports in Express Maintenance against your PM services. Throughout this session, feel free to ask questions via the chat. Once this is done and we stop the recording, then you'll have an opportunity to get your questions answered with the remaining time. So Express Maintenance is a computerized maintenance management software. I know we have a lot of veterans here that have used Express Maintenance for a long time. Some of you are newer, and this is for everybody. Again, like I said, we want to start to standardize our approach to how we use Express Maintenance. And we want to give you guys some tips, tricks, tools that are going to help you guys get more out of it by making it more efficient. In my time working with Express Maintenance for the past 8 years, Express Maintenance customers, I've realized that people use Express Maintenance in a lot of different ways. They use services in a lot of different ways. And I believe that in our experience working with thousands of different customers that we have some ways that if we standardize them, we'll make it easier for everybody to use. Now, what I'm going to share with you may not fit your needs exactly. If that's the case, then I would recommend that we schedule a session where we can kind of discuss more privately what it is that you're dealing with and how we can best set it up so that it's most effective for you. So when it comes to preventive maintenance, you want to make this really simple. This should be so easy to use that the Express Maintenance, operating as your maintenance brain, should be telling you when these PMs are due. You should know who's doing them, what the work instructions are, what parts are required for the PM, and that should just all show up on a work order. And then your technicians, whether you are still printing off those work orders or you're using the mobile application, you should be able to see those work instructions and parts very clearly on your PM work orders. And then you should be able to run reports against that service history that tells you how many planned work orders you're doing versus how many demand work orders you're doing over a given period of time. And you should be able to track and trend that over time. But the critical components here, if you're going to have a successful PM program, are your equipment, your parts, and your services. Okay, now there's some subcomponents like, your companies and your employees, and all of those need to be in there too. But the three legs of the PM stool are equipment, parts, and services. So in Express Maintenance, if we go to equipment, you'll see your overview, and then I'm going to select this air compressor. This is going to be the one that we focus on today. This is what your equipment should look like in Express Maintenance. More detail, the better. Then down here, you have your PMs, which I'll get to here in a minute. You'll also notice that this asset has a list of parts that make up that piece of equipment. These are our critical spares. I can right-click on any one of these, jump to it, and now I'm looking at that particular part, and vice versa, I can see what equipment that part is used on. Okay, so both of those are important. Why are parts important? Because when you actually add a service, you want to pre-assign your part so that when that service becomes a work order, the part is already there, and whoever is responsible for doing your planning and scheduling in Express Maintenance, it's one less thing that they have to think about if you have it set up to where it will automatically add the part required every single time. So we're going to go to services here. Now, to get to services, you go to administration and services. It's going to show up right here in your overview. And then you'll see here I have the air compressors services that I've created. I'm going to go through how to create one, and then we're going to show you how to get that scheduled. All right, so to create a service, you hit the plus button, and then we're going to call this an air compressor PM monthly. Okay, now I prefer to set it up this way where you have the name of the asset, okay, the period and interval listed right here. And if you are going to break it down by online and offline, that would also go here as well. So you could have online or offline. Now, the philosophy behind using online and offline is if you're doing PMs or you have an asset that goes down and you have to fix it, you could also at the same time go see what PM services are required offline. So then while that asset is down, you could also PM it and knock out that PM while it's already down, while it's already offline. So just some efficiencies there. Other ways that you can set up services, you can set it up by asset. You can group your PMs. So maybe you have a line. So we're going to call this X line master PM. And then what you would do is when you create the PM, you would say, okay, unit number 1 in that line. And I would put work instruction number 1, work instruction number 2, work instruction number 3, and then I would go down to unit number 2 in that line. And I would just do the same thing. Now, the value of that is when you have a group PM like that, you can put the PM work instructions in sequence that you would be going down the line. Again, efficiency. So it's kind of like a route PM where you could actually put a list of assets in the most effective route that someone would need to go to follow in order to be the most efficient in their use of time and effort. So that's another example of a type of PM is a group PM or a line PM. It can be by work cell or line or area, whatever it is, that's how you would do that. So for this case, I'm going to use the air compressor monthly, PM offline. The category, you have lots of different options here: capital, cleaning, inspection, inventory. It's a license, lube maintenance, painting, predictive maintenance. I don't know why that's there. Preventive maintenance, repair, safeties. In this case, we're going to use preventive maintenance. What's the work group? This is the group or shift or trade that is responsible for the maintenance. And then labor estimate, we're going to say this is 0.5 hours. And then I need to come over here to my scheduler and say, okay, this is a monthly. It's every 1 month. Then we have these renewal bases. The difference here, you have work order completion. What that means is that if I schedule this service for March 1st, and it's a monthly, well, let's say I don't get to it until March 2nd, then based on work order completion, it won't reschedule it until April 2nd, because that's work order completion. Hey, Chris, welcome to the meeting. Thanks, buddy. And then you also have service originally scheduled. And what that means is that if I schedule this monthly PM for March 1st, and I don't get to it until March 15th, it's going to reschedule for April 1st because that's when it was originally scheduled. And then the work order manual, I don't know anybody that uses that. It was added a long time ago. We don't teach it, so you can just ignore that one. And then you have some renewal lot. What was that?
Eric, hey, quick question. When you brought up that editor a second ago, can you just quickly show that again? There was a question just to make sure.
Oh, yeah, thanks. So I'll show that here in just a second. So with the renewal logic, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you select this one, it's just going to use this information up here to determine when the next schedule date is. If you don't do PMs on the weekends, then you can calculate weekdays only, or a specific day in the month, or a fixed day in the month. So those are your different options. We'll just use calculate. Actually, I like this one right here because we don't work the weekends. So calculated weekdays only, hit proceed. Now that sets up the PM to renew every single month, no matter when I actually complete the work order. So then down here we have the work instructions. I'm going to right click here and I'm going to go to editor. So that's how you open that. Now I've got some work instructions over here. I cheated. I used ChatGPT to help me come up with some work instructions for this. Don't judge me. And here's Here's, I just pasted these right from ChatGPT. You can paste them from a Word document or an Excel document. If you paste them from an Excel document, they're gonna, you may have to do some editing. But this is typically just what it looks like whenever you are pasting it into the editor. If I hit the bullet point here, then I just need to tab these so that it shows, there we go. There we go. Now I got bullet points. But I can also do checkboxes. So if I want to add this as a checkbox, I can paste that into my checkbox, hit that button, and it adds it as an actual checkbox that I can check off there. Okay, and we got some examples of that as well. All right, Control Z, put that back. All right, so that's how you edit it, and you can do a lot of things with this. You can create a table over here if you want to add different tables, and if you want to add pictures, you can do that as well. And you can add links. I haven't tested the links yet to see if you can actually click the link from the mobile app, but that's something I'm going to research this week. So lots of different options there. We can get real creative, and if you have any questions, we can talk about that later. So once I have my work instructions, and again, these should be as detailed as possible. So like if I have a hose here, and I'm recommending that you replace it, I should probably put the part number for that particular hose right here. And then that makes it real easy for whoever is reading the work instructions. It just takes the guesswork out of it. Okay, so we have that. I'm going to close it. Yes, I want to save my changes. It adds it to this section here. Now I have a service that I can add to my equipment. Hey, Lance, welcome to the meeting, sir. Go ahead and turn off your video for me if you don't mind. Appreciate you. So then you have that service is now ready to be assigned to a piece of equipment. All right, I'm going to delete this one because I have one just like it already. And let's go to the overview, and you can see I have, here's a daily. Okay. Then I also have a semi-annual offline one that's bulleted. Another example, let me go back to this one. This is one with the checklist. And there's a monthly and the annual. Okay, so just a couple of different examples there. Once I have the services here in my services setup, now I'm ready to go back to my equipment, go to my services tab. And by the way, you may find that your services tab is somewhere over here. I rearranged my tabs because I like my services to show up first. Just side note, to do that, you can do that from your work or your equipment menu. If you select this button, you can change what tabs are where by reordering them over here. So go back here, go to services, and now you see I've added a daily, my monthly, and my semi-annual. This is not a work order. This is just simply me telling the software what services should be assigned to this piece of equipment. And then I have to come over here, and with the first time I'm adding services, I need to put a last perform date. When I put my last perform date, the system will automatically calculate the schedule date. Same thing if you are going to be performing services based on counts. So air compressor is actually a really good example. If you need to perform a PM every 500 hours, then you can put the current count of the asset right here when you first enter the equipment. And then to update those counts, you just simply go to maintenance, update counts, hit search, and then every single one of these assets has a count on it. And I just need to update the count here. And then if I have a service that's due every 500 hours, then when that next 500 hours comes up, like let's say it's due at 8,500 hours and I hit 8,000 hours, then it will kick out a work order for me. Okay, so that's how the counts works. And you can connect your counts to a database instead of having to manually update these. And if that's something that you're interested in, we just need to talk about it because it requires an automated programming interface and work with our development team. Okay, back to equipment. So I've added these 3 services. The service category comes from the service category that I selected on this screen right here. Okay, so that automatically fills in when I add the service. In fact, let me show you which ones automatically come in. I'm going to type in air compressor, and we'll do another monthly here. I'm going to hit save. There we go. And you can see it brings in the category, the labor estimate. I have to assign the part, and I have a last perform date, which is blank. But the interval period, the basis, all of that comes over from the services that I set up here. So if you have a ton of services, a ton of PMs where all of this is blank, then you're just creating more work for yourself. The more information you put here, the more that will automatically populate when you add them to the equipment here. And then again, the more information you add here, the less information you have to add to the actual work order when it becomes a work order. So let me delete that one. Okay, back to just the 3. All right, so from here I can see what my work instructions are. There we go. Again, this is not a work order. I'm just looking at these services to see what's been set up, what the work instructions are. I'm not going to change the work instructions here. I will go back to my services to do that. Make sure that the labor hours are good. If I need to add a part, it's just as simple as coming over here, hitting that ellipsis right there, and then adding a part. And then whatever part I select here is going to be the part that shows up on the work order. Okay. The period and interval, all that shows up. And then if I have a last perform date, when I first add a service, I have a blank last perform date or last count date. And that's when I enter that information, and that will populate the next scheduled date. So from there, that is how you actually create the PM. So we have our equipment that we added. We've added our part. We then created our service. We then attach that service to the equipment, identify the part that needs to be consumed on that service, if that applies, then fill out the last perform date, and then we are ready to either manually create PM work orders or automate the creation of our work order, our PM work orders. Okay, so if you're going to manually create work orders, then you'll go to work orders, service overview. Some people like to have the ability to see every service when it comes due. And my preference is efficiency through automation. And so if you guys are on 9.7 or later, you have the ability to automate your PMs, any scheduled service, to skip this screen altogether. And instead of it showing up here as a service that you then have to pick and convert to a work order like this, it will just automatically show up on your work order overview. And that's my preference. So you'll have PMs that will show up on this work order overview as needs reviewed, and then you can finish out the planning and scheduling there. So there's a couple different ways that you can do that. If you want to turn on that automation, I would recommend scheduling a consult with someone from our team, because if you have a ton of services that are overdue, or just a ton of services that are due, it is going to take every single service in your service overview, whether it's due or past due, and convert it to a work order. And it can create some chaos real fast. So if you've not been good about doing your PMs on time, I would not recommend automating your PMs until you have cleaned up your database a little bit. So if you guys want to talk about that, again, a health check would be really great for that. Tim, would you mind putting that health check link in the chat box? That way people can get that scheduled. Okay, so from the work order screen, work order overview, this is that air compressor, and this is what it looks like when all 3 of those services come due at the same time. So quick rabbit trail here. Whenever you are creating your services, if you have a daily, and on that daily, you're checking your oil every single day, then when you create your monthly, the monthly should not include checking your oil because it's already on the daily. If so, that you don't have redundancy in your services, and so you're not having one technician go check the oil and then another technician gets another work order with a separate service, and then they go to that asset and they see that they also have to check the oil. It's just redundancy where it's not necessary. So whatever, if you have a daily that has check oil, then the monthly shouldn't have check oil. If you have a monthly that says replace belt, then the annual should not have replace belt, even though you would want to have that done every single month. So just keep that in mind. If I was to print off this work order, this is what it looks like. You have your service work instructions for the air compressor daily, for the semi-annual and the monthly, all on one work order. And the part, excuse me, that's pretty small. The part is also listed, and that happened automatically. I didn't have to add that part again because on the equipment screen, I added that part to the service so that when it became a work order, it automatically added it to the work order. So that's what it will look like, and I won't have time to show you what that looks like on the mobile application, but you can imagine. Okay, completing a PM. If you've done your job, if you've done it right, then the PM, these work orders are really easy to complete because the part is already listed and the quantity is already there. Nothing to do there. The services, I already have my labor estimates, and as long as those are fairly accurate, then there's not a whole lot of work to do there. I'm not capturing downtime on a preventive maintenance work order, so I can put when I started the work order, and let's put this back an hour just for, oops, there we go. Now, sorry. All right, so I'm ready to complete the work order. I'm going to use this green check. I'm going to complete the work order here, and notice that it's going to complete the part, which consumes it from inventory. It's going to complete the services, and now because I have automation turned on, it's going to automatically create the next service and convert it to a work order. And so it's also going to, if I left the hours blank, it's going to assume the estimated labor hours as my actual hours, and it gives me a completed date here. So with one button, because I set it up properly and I did the work on the front end, I now have my total labor hours, I have my total cost, and I can then jump to that asset, see the work order right here, see all the services that just got done by completed date. There they are. And I can run some reports. So if I want to see all of the planned maintenance for that asset and look at my total cost to maintain for the air compressor of just my planned maintenance, there it is. This is over for the last year. So reports should be that quick to run and the information at your fingertips if you've done your due diligence and done good service history. So we have the total number of planned work orders, labor hours, labor costs, parts costs, taxes, other, and total, which all of that information comes off the work order if you've done your job right. So if we're at 10:30 now, so I want to give you guys the time to ask your questions. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. and